Okay, this week's sketchbook slash project is to create a vase shape based on the traditional Greek styles and a pattern that you want to do on the surface. And then we're going to do kind of a twist on what would be called sgraffito. So a method in which you remove a layer of color and reveal the color beneath. And that was how the Greeks got a lot of the work done on their pottery. They put a liquefied colored slip over the top of clay that was a different color, and then they would carefully sort of scratch away and scrape away to reveal the color underneath, and that was how they got the light and dark. So the way that we're going to do that, you have a slide on our lesson this week that gives you all of these shapes. There are other shapes. You could just do a Google search of Greek amphora or vessels or Greek, I guess, vase shapes. That's probably how it's going to pop up. So I am working from my piece here, and I'm going to draw as big as you can, and I'm going to outline mine in black Sharpie. You do not need to outline yours in black Sharpie. I'm going to do it so hopefully you can see better what I am doing here. But I am chosen my vase shape, which is one of the more classic amphoras, and I am making the outline. So not unlike what you did for the Jomon, okay? This part is pretty similar as far as getting the outline initially, okay? So I'm just sketching mine out. Here we go. And then, since you probably can't see any of that with this bright colored paper, got the top. So there's my shape. You guys can see that. There's my basic outline. Not perfect, not super symmetrical. It's not like the template that we made for the other one. Actually, you can see now. Showing it to you on the camera makes that funny looking, but I'm gonna fix it. Okay. So anyways, I've got my piece. Now you're gonna get your crayons. I threw mine all in a bowl. And well, a step before doing the crayons is kind of thinking about the design and the motif you want to put on your piece. So looking at some of the images on the Google Slides that we have, as well as when you're looking for the outline, if you're going to do a search of Greek vessels in general, you're going to see lots of different styles. So that red figure type, the black figure type, the Minoan style that has the more organic forms. So things that are very symmetrical, things where there's a story going on in the middle, lots of different options. So you want to think that through a little bit. And you could do a separate drawing or a small drawing, kind of figuring out what it is you want on your piece. Patterns can be a part of it. So I'm going to do this in pencil really quick. Just if I do a bunch of horizontal lines, I'm going to end up with some stripiness that is reminiscent of where designs are. And then for me, I'm kind of a Mustang at heart, so I'm going to draw a bit of a Mustang here as part of my piece. Do a rough sketch here. These horses aren't exactly my forte, but at the same time, I've had to draw our mascot a few times. So I want to have some horses sort of on my vase here, if at all possible. So you don't have to draw it out on here, but you do want to kind of map things. And I find that it's easy enough just to put it on there. So if you can kind of see my loose horsies on there, a horse and 2/3, okay? And then I'm going to pick some colors. What you don't want to do, so one, you're going to cover the whole thing in black in the end. So set aside your black crayon. And you can pick any other colors you want. You can pick one color to do the whole thing in one color. Or you could, because you know that you're going to have different things happening in different parts of the piece, you can have different color zones. Totally up to you. I would probably recommend not going with the super dark colored crayons because you need that black crayon to cover really well, and it's nice to have a contrast. So I would set aside the really dark ones and I would go for the lighter colored crayons. Kind of any of these guys would work. That light blue would probably work, that teal would work. So you can get greens and blues and pinks and oranges and yellows and things like that. But those are probably the best kind of zone to go in. So I'm gonna get mine rolling here, okay? And you want to put this on thick. Now I've got a Sharpie outline, so I don't have to make it absolutely perfect and my outline's gonna show pretty good. If you don't have Sharpie at home, you just wanna be a little more careful with your outline probably, because if it goes over, it would be harder to tell. But really fill this in. I'm gonna take a little time and do this. Okay, so I colored mine in. Doesn't it look beautiful? You want to put a really good coat of color of crayon on your piece. I don't know if you can tell, but that is also, it's just like a light green. You can do any colors you want. Do it any which way you want. Do only one color. Do 15 colors. Totally up to you, okay? That's all fine. But you want to put it on nice and thick, not sketchy. Not lots of air spaces of white paper showing. So really coat it. So do this when you're spacing out doing something else. You know, you could even have little brother or little sister do this portion for you after you figure out your own shape. They can fill it in. I'm okay with that. But it can be a nice kind of relaxing thing if you take your time and do it that way. Take some breathing exercises. Put on your favorite music. Now, the important part is to cover the whole thing with black crayon. Now, I've already used my crayon once, so it's partially gone, but I have got to cover all of this color. This is the part that will take a minute. So again, find something to watch on TV or put on your music, and then you're gonna start going over every little zone where you have color and you are trying to totally coat it. Now you're gonna notice that you're gonna see a little bit of the color poke through. That's just gonna happen. I'm working in much smaller strokes because I have found that this works better. Because if I was just kind of going big and then tried to go back over it, what I find is the crayon just does not coat as well. So we want this black wax over the top of lighter wax. So you're gonna have to put some effort into it. Here we go, okay? So you can see really covering it nice and thick, and keep on going. Okay, it's covered. You can still see some of the color through, but again, that's kind of the quality of the crayon going and how warm the room is. If the crayon's a little bit on the warm side, you put it in your hand and warm it up a little bit, it softens it and it does cover a little bit better that way. But you can do this obviously in stages because it's quite a process to cover, and you do want to make sure that that black is on as thick as possible. So even, it's hard to resist going back and trying to get it even coated a little bit more. Because you'll notice that when you're going back and forth with the crayon itself, because it's hard, will sort of peel away some of the wax as well. And what we're trying to do is have as even and thick of a coat of black crayon over the top. Okay, so in any case, here we are. You want to get to at least about here, if not better. And sometimes you guys can do way better than me. And then you want to have something that's kind of sharp and pointy. We're going to use our skewer here, but if you have a tool, even like a fork, like one of the tines of a fork. Do I have a fork nearby? I do. You see, I have a tool in class that's called a sgraffito. Well, it's not actually called a sgraffito tool. It's called a clean out tool. It has this little scoopy pointed end, and it has this little super thin dagger-like end. And this is actually the tool that we would be using if we were doing this in clay instead of with crayon and paper. But something that's a little pointy and sharp. So your bamboo skewer should work in a pinch. If you have a ruler or something to hold the lines straight, if you're doing horizontal lines, a ruler comes in handy. If you don't have a ruler at home, maybe you have your other skewer still, you could always use this to make a straight line. And what I'm going to start doing is creating my design. And the whole point is that I'm scratching away the black crayon and I'm revealing the color underneath. So I want to find those horses that I was drawing and the lines that I've got. So if I use my skewer here for a minute and I use the tip of my other skewer, I can scrape away. What starts out is a fairly thin line. So you can see that. And then you would continue working on that and then widening it up or creating a pattern between the lines, however you want your design to be. That's the part that's all you, not me. So I'm going through and I'm scratching off that black crayon that I just put over the top, because it gives me this awesome surface where I'm just scratching through and revealing. So I just widened that up a little bit. And you can do quite a few of these. I'm going to do a few in a row, and then we'll go again. Okay. And you will get some sort of crayon-y bits, so make sure you're in a surface, or you can walk it over to a trash can and sort of knock it off. Starting to go there. I'm going to keep going. So this is working really well. Let's see if the edge of a pencil does, or not pencil, the edge of a fork, if you have one nearby, will do the same. Yep, works just as well. So it scratches that surface and removes the wax without scratching. The thing that you want to be careful about is don't scratch so hard that you break your paper. You want your paper to stay nice and flat. And this is just a plain old copy or paper that I sent home with you guys. So do some more design here. Okay. Right, so I got the top portion, kind of where I want it to go. Now I gotta figure out the body of it. I wanna have designs in the feet, I wanna have designs in the handles. So really figuring out the whole surface. Now you'll notice I had drawn those horses out in here. I can't see them anymore. So you don't have to draw them on this piece before you fill them in. I just kind of wanted to give you that visual. So if you have a separate drawing of it and then you kind of sort of transfer that concept onto here, that works really well. Okay, so I'm gonna keep going on mine. Right, so I got my horse, my other horse sort of started and ramping around the other side. And then I've got to figure out my patterns for the handles and my patterns for the base. So hopefully you're starting to kind of see that. If you don't feel like you're a wonderful drawer, because I know I'm going to hear that from some of you, as I don't know how to draw and this feels too much like just a straight drawing project, you can really look at those images of Greek pottery and really play with the pattern more than anything else. Or pick a simple form like a bird or something like that that feels more manageable. It does not need to be human, although you are more than welcome. It would be very fun to see some figures happen on people's pieces. But different animals that you feel like you can handle are really the best way to go. Right. So there is my amphora vase, okay? Design, you can keep playing with it, you can do all kinds of things, make it very detailed, but you want to make sure that you cover that surface with design and you have some things going on all throughout the piece. I could continue going, making all kinds of patterns. There really can be a lot of fun to play with and just sort of relax. But the concept, understanding about revealing the color underneath by scraping away and creating a pattern and a design in that way. That's really what Sgraffito is about and what so many of the vases and vessels that you see that the Greeks created had going on them. Have fun.